And it is time. Hey, Kim, are you in? I can't tell yet. Oh, there you go. Hey, Kim. I think it's still trying to get you in. There you go. Let me turn off my music so it won't be too loud. How are you?
Oh, good. It's been a crazy set of weeks, but good.
Girl, I'm having hot flashes. See what I got from my sister? It's a fan.
This ain't me because I've been having the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, no, this not working. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, do they only come a little while and then they go away? She was like, no, they here.
I'm trying to.
I'm sorry, I can hear.
So dark house.
How was your day?
I played hooky, so I haven't been on the computer all day like I normally am. I just like my brain's just been hurt. So
Yes, and you know, something we you gotta take those times up. Even when you don't plan them, sometimes your body like you want to keep going, but no, you're
yeah.
not. Yeah,
Yesterday was I don't know if you knew the Sweeneys, Paige Sweeneys, one of the young couples in our church,
hmm
life group or a small group, but she was the one that drowned. I don't know if you heard the drowning Lake
I
Summer.
heard about that. I thought her name was. Now I knew a David Sweeney. He went to A&M with me, but I don't know if that's connected because they weren't at the church then. No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But her name was Olivia. We call her Paige.
Okay. Okay.
But she was married. Her married name was Sweeney, but she was a young.
Okay. No, I don't remember. So Wayne and Betty?
Nah,
Yeah. No. Oh.
I don't
Okay.
think they were related. Yeah, but there's been one death after the other. So
Yeah.
it's like, did you know the Erica Martinez?
I heard about Aggie. That's the one that
And,
that like shook us. Yeah.
she had fell again and injured her head again.
Oh.
She was in therapy and stuff trying to recover from that, and I guess her body just wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they were prepared though. I mean, they knew that it was a strong possibility.
Possibility. Yeah. So yeah. So and then I reached out to Claude because I know he used to train Aggie to see how he
Yeah,
was doing, and he said he was okay. So
yeah.
yeah. Well, want to be respectful of time. Georgia, she's participated both days. She said she wasn't going to be able to participate today. Most of the other people who have been participating have been watching the recording, so it will be me and you. So first, I'll do like since it will be accessed by people later, I will do a quick review, and then I'll get into what we're going to do today. My goal is to end by 7:20. I did good on Monday. On Tuesday, I was like 3 minutes over, but not trying to take all your time. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and go with the review, and then I'll get into what we're going to do today. Okay, good.
Sounds good.
All right, let's see. So today, oh, I opened too many screens. I think it was, nope, that's not the right one. Hold on. Let me see which screen I put this on. I have like 5 different Gmail accounts and I can't tell which window I opened the slide in. Oh, there we go. It's that one. Okay, so this one. So present. So the goal or the point of the challenge this week is to move people forward into being more intentional about their mindset, because it is the foundation for everything we do and how we interpret experiences and interactions with people. So day one, mindsets are your habitual thoughts. So on day one, we reviewed what that meant and how that could impact us by looking at a activity called the Stroop effect. And what we realized is that even when it's simple, the instructions are simple, they're clear, it's just hard to break some things that you want to do automatically. And that was demonstrated by trying to say the color of the font instead of reading the word, and that was a tad more difficult. Then on day two, we looked at selective attention, because we're wired to program to pay attention to some things. Some of that is nature, some of it's nurture. But if we want to be better or we want to be different, we have to realize that we're operating on doing some things automatically, and we have to be intentional about digging it up. So what we're doing today in day three is looking on a decision making. So I have what some people have called a very intense or maybe over the top process for my mindset routine. I do something in the morning, I do something in the evening, and then I have a way to reset in the middle of the day. But there is a reason for that. And so as an example, we're going to start by looking at a TED Talk, which I think we'll start at the beginning and then, or in the middle, about 2 minutes, and then I'll skip forward some where he's showing how we're not rational about our decisions. It's about the options that we're given. So we'll start here, and just let me know if you can't hear it, and I'll crank it up. Wait, let's see. Can you hear it? No? Okay, let me get out of here and do it here and make sure I got it cranked. Let's stop the share and do new share. And this time we're going to do this one. Is that better? Which one seems longer? Can anybody see anything but the last one being longer? No, it's possible. And the nice thing about visual illusion is we can easily demonstrate mistakes. So I can put some lines on. I can elevate the lines. And to the extent you believe me, I can shrink the lines, which I did. I can prove it to you that your eyes more. Now, the interesting thing about this is when I take the lines, it's as if you haven't done anything. The last minute, you can't look at this instead of reality. Count this. Our intuition is nothing about it. So one of the things that I like about this first one that he shows is that there's nothing that he says there's almost nothing we can do about it. It's the way we're wired. It's the way our vision works. Even though we were given the truth, we know the truth, we are wired to see it that way. And so although we like to believe we're making logical decisions, we're going through this and it's rational, it's really not. We're programmed to do so many things. And not only are we programmed by how our mind works, but we're programmed by the options we're given. So in this next example, he's going to go through, I'll show the options that we're given and how they change or impact the results. Some countries give a lot and some countries give a little. When you ask people this question, they usually think, well, let me back up just a little bit.
Yeah, so it's still a little bit hard to hear.
Okay, so I'll just explain it since it's hard to hear. So basically, This is what they asked the people, well, who would be interested in giving organ donations? And from looking at it, it looks like there are four countries that really are not interested, and the rest of them are. And if we're evaluating this, we may take it to mean, oh, it's culture. These culture value people, these culture don't value people. But then when you look at the question, what it was actually that made the difference, it wasn't the culture, it was how they worded the question. So for the countries on the left that had least, it was checks the box below if you want to participate. And most people didn't check the box for the and so you were opting in. The countries on the right, they were asked check the box below if you don't want to participate. And so it was the default that everyone was choosing. And so a lot of times what we do is we choose by not choosing because we're overwhelmed, by not being intentional, by not thinking it through. We choose the default because it's the path of least resistance. And so that's one of the reasons why at the beginning of my day, I said it. And then at the end of the day, I think about it and reflect. Because if I haven't been intentional and reflected up on it, it's possible that I went through the whole day and I was automatic. Does that kind of make sense? So the assignments from this week, and I don't know if you got a chance to do them, so I may piggyback on what Miss Georgia and I were talking about. But the first assignment was to come up with 2 character traits that you wanted to walk into. Miss Georgia chose focus and loving, and I've been working on accountability, joy, and there was a third one that I added last night, and I can't remember what it was. I have to look at my journal. And so that was the first homework on Monday. And then for Tuesday's homework, which was last night, the goal was, once you've identified those characteristics and we discussed how those things look, what is a task? How will that task look in your daily life? So we talked about focus, and so I feel comfortable talking about that one and not loving. So with focus, her example of someone who had did it was a pastor at our church, and she said she makes you feel like you're the only one when she's talking to you, even though you have all these things going on. And so then the question becomes, where in your life can we do the same thing? So do you have a sense of the character traits you want to walk into or see more of in your life? Or do you want to use one of the examples of focus, loving to go forward? What would work for you?
Was a little bit, the 2 that I wrote were consistency, and like my word for the year last year was focus, but I realized I was focused but not on the right things. And so my second one was significance. Like, what are the things that are significant that I need to be focused on? You know?
So identifying those things that are significant, or more alongside of treating those things that you have already identified as significant?
Treating them as significant.
Okay. So the book by Gary Keller, he divided, and people do it different ways, but he divided life basically into 7 different areas. And his divisions were spiritual, financial, key relationships, personal or self-care, job, business, or physical education. So if we're thinking about significance, do you do that well in any of those areas and you need to get better in other areas? Or is it one particular area of life you want to focus on?
Well, I could be a workaholic, and I always have this battle in my mind, like what should get my time. And even though like work is important, but it's not as important as my health, but many days I will put that aside because I feel like, oh, this needs to get done. And so I'm trying to no matter what, put those things, for example, read my scriptures every day, journaling, and exercising. But a lot of times, because of the intensity of work, especially during COVID, I tend to get on the computer, get to work, and before I know it, my whole day is pretty much gone because that's just my job. But I need to, have some boundaries and keep all those other things in place as well. So I'm doing that account, but I have to put value on my self-care as well as other things and not just work, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. So would you say that if it was work or family or your kids, is the battle there too, or is it just with work and self-care?
This work is self-care. It's like in my mind, when it comes to my kids, they're priority, but I find it hard to prioritize myself. Okay. So work, a part of that too is like because I know that's what I need to do as far as making sure my kids have what they need and keeping my word to others. And so I'm working keeping my word to myself. I put above myself, like that's a priority, but I need to prioritize myself as well. Because, I just think that I'll get over it, if I fail myself, it's okay, but I don't want to fail others, if that makes sense. And so
it does. I went to this training in San Antonio, probably in December, and she gave an example. She said, the example or the story she used, she said, there's some people in the room where if I tell you that you have 24 hours and then you'll die, you'll pass away. She said, and if I told you the only way not to do that was for you to raise $10,000, you'd raise it. She said, then there's other people in the room where the only way you would go raise $10,000 is if I told you that somebody in your family would also die if you didn't figure out how to raise the $10,000. And she said, and for you guys, you lean more toward support. And so you put the other people and you'd figure it out. $10,000 would happen because the other people were depending on you. And right. So she walked me through that, because my thing was, I called it freedom. I wanted to have freedom to focus on my needs. I wanted to have freedom to make a decision to do this without feeling guilty or like I didn't do this. And so I think we're talking about the same thing, but we're calling it probably different labels. Like I feel, this is me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like the importance of self-care. You enjoy the working out, you enjoy the spiritual time doing it for you. So it's not about sad. It's about feeling like it's okay to focus there instead of these other things. Is that right? Yeah. So with that, it could be the way to move through that, or to set up a routine to do that, could be, you could do it a couple of ways. Maybe, and I know you've probably heard this, like if you're trying to work out early and you want to get started at 5 and you usually wake up at 7, then maybe your first goal is just to get up and brush your teeth. Or maybe your first goal is just to get up and drink your water. Not to do the whole kit and caboodle, but to be consistent in this one area. So maybe with the prioritizing self-care over work, maybe it's one thing. Maybe it's not, working out for this long and reading the Bible and the food. Maybe it's one thing you can do every day. Is there something small that you want to do in self-care that you could do every day?
For me, it's journaling, because that helps set my mind straight. Just like what is, like kind of how you do your mindful mornings or whatever. But for me, it's writing it down.
Yeah.
And just having a plan for the day, even if I don't do the whole thing, at least if I look and I've gotten most of that accomplished, then I don't know, it just puts me in a better mindset each day. Mm-hmm. So, and when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know why I don't do it every day. It's just like, because I know I'm going to feel better. I know I'm going to get more accomplished. And some days I just don't. So that's why consistency was my other trait that I wanted to work on, because I can do it. And I know that, I have long periods of stretches that I do it, but then sometimes I don't know why. I just like stop. Like I know it's going to give me some good results, but I don't know. For some reason I just stop, and then I have to start getting back into the routine again.
And I think that's okay, because it's like each time we build a muscle or we build a new habit, we get to a new level, right? And then as long as we remember that that's the habit, then when you stop, you come back to it and you build it again. So like, I don't know if you watched it. There was a couple of weeks ago where I was doing the mindful nightfalls, and I was at my sister's doing game night, and they decided to howl and bark and all kind of crazy stuff. And so I was getting distracted, but because I had did mindful nightfalls so much, I had said the same thing, I could reset and go, this is mindful nightfalls, this is a part of my nighttime component. But it was one of those things where you got off and you came back. So maybe it's giving yourself room, because life happens, it change, and just coming back to it. Because when you recognize that you got away from it, are you quick to come back to journaling, or do you say, or is it more like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be doing it, I'll get back to that at some point?
I usually come back to it, but the thing is, like, when I stop, it's not because I'm being late. It's just life happens, and then I'll see that it's like 3 days or something, and I didn't even realize
that you did